Are you ready for some horror movies?
Yeah, but what are these?
Are you ready for some wonderful Academy Award-winning quality horror movies?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's not this week.
We've got 5 of the best movies ever made this week.
Well,
Okay, am I exaggerating?
yeah, kinda. Yeah, these
a
are
little
something.
bit. Yeah,
Hey, we're the horror guys.
we are the horror guys.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we've got 5 movies for you this week.
And we're going to talk about them.
And we always do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are the films of Charles Band, directed by Charles Band.
Some of his earlier work. He's done many, many films.
Well, and,
Some of them are good, some of
and
them are not.
One of them just out this year, too, though.
Uh-huh.
He's still at it.
1976 to 2025 so far.
Charles Band is one of those guys, if you're not aware, he's just prodigious. He cranks them out. He works, he directs, he works behind the scenes, he does all sorts of things. And he's a Roger Corman
Don't say wannabe. He is.
Equivalent, an equivalent, yeah.
Yeah.
As far as sheer number of movies that he's put out. But he knows...
Some of them are classics, and some of them are really good, and some of them are just pure trash schlock, too.
And some of them are campy enough to be interesting. But he's got that gift of, he can work on a budget and fast and efficient and an eye for, what'll make a little money. Most of his stuff has been profitable.
Oh, yeah.
And, he's in the business for the business. Love him or hate him, he's there, and his movies are out there.
I love the Bloodstone Vampire series.
Yeah,
I
those were
love
really
the
good.
Puppet Master series.
And he's not directly, directing all of these, but he's behind the scenes.
He's behind them, Full Moon.
Full Moon Productions.
Yeah.
He was heavily into that, and yeah. So that's Charles Band.
And then there's these things.
Yeah, we looked at 5 of them that he directed himself.
Yeah, there's these things.
Yeah, well...
Well, what do we got, specifically?
Well, we have 1976's Crash.
Which is not the Academy Award-winning Crash. It's a different one.
It's different entirely, yep. 1982, Parasite.
Which is not the Academy Award-winning Parasite. It's a different one.
Yep. 1983, Metalstorm, The Destruction of Jared-Syn.
Which does not compare to anything.
Yeah.
There's no Academy Award winners close to that.
And 1990's Meridian, which was also known as Meridian Kiss of the Beast, and also known as The Ravaging. It's got 3 alternate titles. Yeah. Well, the one we watched just said Meridian, I believe.
I don't know anymore.
Yeah. And then just this year, City of Demons.
Just a week or two ago, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Fresh
were looking
and-
at these old ones from him, and I wanted to see what's he done recently.
And we saw.
And he's released several of his older movies redone in black and white. They're called the noir versions of his films.
Okay.
But this is the only thing I could find that was really recent that was really new. So we'll talk about that last.
Now, I will say that Crash, of all these movies, has the most awesome poster.
Okay, yeah.
That's just it's a montage of action and crashes and people.
That
and
is quite a
bodies
poster.
flying and multiple vehicles, explosion in the background.
I saw that poster and figured, there's going to be one big car explosion or something. And no, there was a lot of them here.
Let's talk about that one first.
Yeah. And of course, as always, the show is brought to you by Horror Monthly Magazine. Go to horrormonthly.com, pick up this month's issue, any of the back issues, or you can go over, there's a tab at the top to pick up the Horror Guys Guides, where you can read about the films of Vincent Price, Boris Karloff.
There's a Roger Corman book.
There's a Roger Corman book. There's not a Charles Band book yet.
Not
There
yet.
may be someday. I don't know.
yet.
There's no plans, but there could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course the Academy Awards of Horror, which did just come out a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got them all there.
Yeah.
All right, well, what is first?
Crash. 1979's. Like I already said, the awesome poster is the best thing about this one. And if you're into old school practical effect car chases, crashes, and explosions, this one's for you. In fact, they have all the car crashes throughout, and then there's a montage of them again at the end. So you get to see them all twice.
Actually looking at this list of stuff this week,
Yeah?
I'm going to say this is my favorite one.
Favorite week?
Favorite of the 5 movies.
Okay. I'm going to go with Parasite. I thought the science fiction aspect of that one interested me.
All right.
It wasn't a great film, but it's my favorite of the week.
Oh, I think you could say that about any of these. None of these are
True.
great films.
Yeah. But
are they entertaining, and do they hold up, is where we're going with this one.
I was at least marginally entertained by almost all these.
Almost all these.
But talking about Crash, as far as horror movies go, it's kind of tame as far as the horror. It's much more about the car crashes.
There's a
and
curse.
chases.
And there's a little cursed
in there.
item. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Directed by Charles Band, written by Mark Moraes, stars Jose Ferrer, Sue Lyon, and John Erickson. Hour and 28 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just discussing as this came on the screen, Jose Ferrer was in a lot of horror movies.
He was.
But
yeah.
he's not really ever considered a horror actor the way, Lon Chaney or somebody was.
But he did a lot. Yeah.
He did. He was in a lot of these.
Yeah. This one is a somewhat disjointed tale of murder and revenge and collateral damage. A lot of collateral damage. Wasn't a great film by any means, but we found it kind of entertaining. I did. I was kind of entertained by it. Yeah.
Well, a couple in a van talk about almost arriving at their destination. A car comes up behind them and forces them off the road. It's a crash. There we go.
Yeah.
The van explodes in a huge fireball, an unexpectedly, unnecessarily large fireball for the crash involved.
Yeah, yeah.
And we even see a body fly through the air.
The trope of cars exploding, on impact.
Yeah, they like that.
Fully utilized in this movie. Yeah.
Sometime later, we watch Kim walking through an outdoor flea market at a drive-in. Remember when they had flea markets at drive-ins?
I remember that.
Remember when they had drive-ins?
I remember that, yeah.
She buys an ugly little figurine from a creepy man at the swap meet. And that creepy little man is the same guy who was the villain in Dracula's Dog a couple of weeks ago.
And lots of other stuff.
And Jose Ferrer was in that as well. I don't believe it had the same director, so I wonder what the crossover was. There's a lot of images of an evil Doberman in this later on, too. So I think they probably were filming at the same time or thereabouts.
Some kind of crossover.
There's a connection.
Yep.
Well, we cut to Kim's husband, Mark Den, watching old movies of them playing tennis. Well, Mark is now confined to a wheelchair, and he's not happy about it. He doesn't want her to ever leave the house again. We cut to the man in the car who caused the crash as he gets into a road rage incident with yet another driver who crashes and explodes again. And actually, I got that wrong. He's the victim in this one. He's doing the road rage, and the killer car gets him.
Yes, yeah. Road rage.
Kim uses the little figurine on her car keychain and then goes for a drive. Suddenly, a Doberman dog jumps in the back of her convertible and causes her to crash, this time without the explosion. Well, we cut to Kim in the hospital, covered from head to toe in bandages. She's all caught up and has dog bites as well. She's in shock and will not release that little figurine from her hand. Well, we cut to Mark, who actually trained the dog to attack and kill his own wife. Uh-oh. There's an APB out for the black convertible hit-and-run car, and as the policeman chases the car, he sees no one driving at all. It makes the police car crash and then drives off. Well, Dr. Martin and Lieutenant Pegler don't know who she is or what really happened to her. There's just this woman in bandages in the hospital now. She wasn't found anywhere near a car accident, so someone must have dumped her in the desert.
Or she just kind of wandered off and they don't make the connection.
Mark watches a "Do you know this woman?" announcement on TV, so he knows she's still alive. With no memory, she's as good as dead. But what if he remembers? He asks the dog.
What if she remembers? Yeah, what if her memory comes back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark goes to the hospital where Kim is staying and sneaks into her room. He pulls out her breathing tube and IV and then leaves.
Not going to be that easy.
Shortly after, Nurse Kathy finds her dying, but hooks her back up. She and Dr. Martin know someone tried to kill Kim. Well, that driverless ghost car is surrounded now by 3 police cars, and it's a crazy chase. All 3 police cars meet a violent end as the ghost car drives on. Well, Dr. Martin sketches the figure that Kim won't release and talks to a guy at the university. The little statue is called Kaza, and it's really old. The occult character that it represents is dedicated to revenge and violence. Meanwhile, Kim wakes up with bright red eyes, and she telepathically moves the wheelchair in her room. All right, so we got this woman in the hospital who's been betrayed by her husband, and she's got a revenge doll.
And she's
not afraid to use it.
She's driving the car remotely.
Seems that way, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, skipping down here to the commentary part. I was never quite clear on why Mark wanted to kill Kim in the first place. Did she cause an accident to make him paralyzed? It had something to do with his wheelchair, but we're never really clear
That
what.
was never clearly stated, but I think kind of implied
Yeah.
that she caused it by accident.
Well, if you like car crashes, this has got a lot of them.
Yeah, it does.
The majority of the film's budget had to have been for junk vehicles and obsolete police cars. I lost track of how many crashes there were in this.
A lot.
If the convertible causing all the accidents was Kim's car, then how did it cause the van crash in the opening before Kim's accident?
See, I think
I
that
guess
was,
it was just a trick of editing.
I think
were
it was
showing
a
things
trick
to
of
us out
editing,
order.
and they wanted to start us out right with a juicy crash.
Well, I would have guessed right away that it was her car doing all this stuff if they just filled it in order.
Yeah, but they didn't
yeah.
do that. Yeah.
John Carradine shows up as Dr. Wesley Edwards, the anthropologist who tells Martin about the Kaza. It's a very small role, but he did all his shots in one afternoon. That's the kind of paycheck you want.
Yeah, it is.
Jose Ferrer was in a large number of horror films around this time, but as we said earlier, for some reason he never became a horror icon, which is kind of unfortunate because he's very good. John Erickson, playing Greg, looks like he'd rather be just about anywhere else than other than this film.
Yeah, just about.
He just did not look interested at all.
He kind of phoned it in. Yeah.
All right, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Action.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fun in the way only a 1970s schlockfest can be, and it is entertaining. Still, no one's going to call it a great film.
No.
I would recommend it if you know what you're getting into.
Mm-hmm. If you like car crashes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Choppy and disjointed, but it was kind of a fun watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could have been a lot worse.
Well,
there are a lot of films that are a lot worse.
And maybe a little nostalgic for me, too, because and you as well, we grew up in this era of, when movies were like this with classic car crashes and, the car goes off the cliff and it explodes into a ball of flame.
You remember the two-headed thing with Rosie Greer and Ray Milland? I don't remember the
do.
exact name of that, but there was a lot of car crashes. I looked to make sure that there was a connection between them, and there's not. That was quite a few years before this.
Car crashes in the 70s were hot.
Oh, yeah. Everybody likes car crashes.
Yeah.
1972 Parasite. I don't
82.
remember it.
82.
1982's Parasite. I don't know that this had a lot of car crashes in it.
Not a lot, no.
Directed by Charles Band. Written by Alan J. Adler, Michael Shube, and Frank Levering. Stars Robert Glaudini, Demi Moore. Academy Award-winning Demi Moore. Nominated.
This was her earliest work, and she has publicly stated that this is the worst movie she's been in.
I saw this in the theaters when it came out. It was kind of...
Okay, I had not seen this before.
Kind of awful, actually. Yeah. Hour and 25 minutes, trailer in the show notes.
And it was in 3D.
It wasn't... But this is where it stands out in my memory. This is the first movie I saw with the gray kind of 3D glasses.
Oh, okay.
Previously, they'd been those red and blue kind.
Mm-hmm.
I guess these were new at right about this point.
In the early 80s, there was a cluster of 3D movies with the new technology. It wasn't the red and blue lenses anymore.
No.
It was a gray kind of diffusion lens.
Well, the ones we have nowadays are gray. Are they the same technology? I've never really tried it, old glasses or new glasses.
I think they are the same technology now.
Seems like it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, spoiler-free, it makes the bold claim of being the first futuristic monster movie in 3D. Well, you had like Creature of the Black Lagoon and stuff a long time ago, but that's not futuristic. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Technically, it probably is. There's an ambitious story at the heart of it, but the execution doesn't quite come together. It falls flat in the technical and the acting aspects. It was some of Demi Moore's earliest work, and as you said, she's on record saying it was the worst movie she's ever been in. It wasn't truly awful, but it was pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the big problem with this one is it's far more ambitious than its budget would allow.
Yes.
It looks cheap.
I would have liked to seen this done with a big budget.
Yeah.
I think it could have been a truly good movie. As it was, I think I mentioned it's my favorite of the week out of all these. Yeah, my most entertainment from this.
What happens?
Well, we open on a man loosely strapped to a table. A man with an X tattooed on his right hand tightens the straps.
Does he work for Twitter?
Maybe. There's a scientist there, Dr. Paul Dean, and he's working on something in his lab. There's an accident, and the worm he's been experimenting on crawls inside him.
Oops.
Yeah. Well, something bursts out of the man on the table's chests. Reminiscent of Alien, only much cheaper in effect. Yeah. Oh, no, that was just Paul's nightmare. That was him on the table.
I think that's a little foreshadowing of where this is going if he doesn't fix the problem.
So there's some time has passed. He's got this worm inside him. that he has to keep suppressed or it's going to bust out of him. Yeah. Well, we see that it's the far-flung future of 1992.
Ooh, I wonder what that's going to be like.
Yeah. And the world has seen some changes, not for the better. Paul goes to a small, nearly deserted town and walks around with a laser pistol. That's how you know it's futuristic.
I never had a laser pistol in 92.
In 92? No. Yeah. Well, he hears a scream, goes inside to find two men raping a woman. And we see that for a scientist, Paul has the strength of a superhero as he takes out the two men.
They're weak little, desert mutant types,
And
probably.
they're sick, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, afterward, the crazy woman attacks him, too.
Gee, thanks.
Yeah. Well, it was almost like she was a willing participant after the fact.
Probably.
She seems mad, like, I was having fun. Yeah. It's a mess, yeah. But it's a bit more post-apocalyptic than it seemed at first. Well, Paul meets Buddy, an old man who's tired of the crazies.
There's crazies all over these parts.
Yep. He goes to Buddy's for coffee, which is in short supply. Bud has a seizure due to the parasite inside him. On the way out, the crazy topless woman smashes his apparently plastic laser pistol.
That broke easy, didn't it?
It did, yeah. He's attacked by one of the men from before, but Paul stabs him in a really obvious 3D shot.
Look, it's a spear coming right at you.
us. Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, Paul stops for gas, and the fill-up is $105.
That must have seemed very futuristic and post-apocalyptic at the point.
Well, it's just a normal car.
You got a big enough
though.
truck now. I think you could probably do that.
Oh, yeah. But this is just a normal-sized vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah. The trick is they only take silver, which fortunately he has with him. Yeah. He heads on into the tiny town of Joshua, population of 60-ish. He finds a sign that says room for rent, and an older woman comes to the door. She doesn't want his cash either, but she'll take his gold ring. He gets a room and sets up all his science stuff.
Vague-looking boxes and things.
And I don't recall her name, but she was a classic actress who'd been in the business for decades and, since the early days.
Not quite hagsploitation, but we're getting there.
But close, yeah. Well, Paul opens his shirt once he gets to his room, and we see that his stomach is all gray and bumpy. Paul goes next door to a restaurant that sells canned soup. The owner, Collins, doesn't like the local kids. The local kids are all punks in every sense of the word, and they steal Paul's soup.
This is just, wow, they steal his soup.
They're just meanie heads, yeah. Patricia walks in, and they all turn their attention on her. She grows lemons for Collins.
In the middle of the desert.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, it's possible, I guess.
If life gives you desert, grow lemonade.
Grow lemonade. Grow lemons, yeah. Rickus, the leader punk, used to work for the company, and he's gotten the X tattoo to prove it. Pat and Collins eventually run off the gang. Meanwhile, Miss Daly, Paul's new landlord, goes through all his books and equipment. And outside, a menacing black sports car zooms into the space station, the gas station. And the man inside gets out. He's Wolf, a merchant. And he's probably the movie's villain.
And you were talking about Miss Daly there.
Yeah.
That is Vivian Blaine,
Okay.
the old-time actress.
Okay, yeah.
Who was in lots of things way back.
Tons of stuff, yeah. And she's not quite Baby Jane level here, but she's
playing an old drunk type.
She's an
lady.
older.
She's probably playing, very classy in real life.
Oh yeah, in real life. But I mean, her character is an old drunk lady who is desperately trying to stay young and caking on the makeup and dressing gaudily and yeah. Well, I think we should stop there. Should we?
Yeah. Wolf is out to catch Paul, and Paul's got an alien inside him, and
kind of a bounty hunter here.
Punk and
yeah. Basically, Paul is giving himself treatments to keep the parasite suppressed. And he's looking for a cure because the disease is out there and it's going to be end of the world level if it really gets out. So he's looking for a cure and looking for a treatment for himself and dealing with these gangs and Wolf who's hunting him. And yeah.
Well, like I said earlier, I saw this in theaters when it came out. It was the first 3D movie I had seen with gray glasses rather than the old red and blue ones. However, the glasses didn't really make the movie any better. They just didn't have the budget for a post-apocalyptic world. All we got was cars in a desert town.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. This might have been the
Wolf's
first
car was mighty futuristic.
That was cool, yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool one.
But I think it was just an off-the-lot car. It wasn't anything special.
Yeah.
Yeah, this may have been the first movie I saw in 3D in the theater.
Oh, okay.
I'd seen like some other ones on TV where you had to buy the glasses ahead of time.
Now, around the same time, there was a Western called Comin' at Ya
Uh-huh.
that I saw that was that same kind of, that same cluster of, and that was excellent as far as, I mean, it was decent as far as a Western, but the 3D effects were so cool.
Just from the name, you would
Yeah.
expect that, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the acting is not good. The effects are not good.
Yeah.
The pacing and cinematography are kind of awful.
You're making it sound bad.
It was Demi Moore's first role, but as she said, it's the worst movie she's ever done. It's not the worst of all horror movies, not by a long shot. Actually, we got worse movies this week on here. But it's also a very far cry from being good.
Yeah.
I would say it's a 3 out
Well-
of 10 if I'm feeling generous.
But I was still entertained. Yeah.
Okay.
The execution of it just didn't come together. It needed more money. It needed a bigger budget.
Yes.
And more time.
Yeah.
Maybe a little better talent as far as the people working on it. But, right, as it was, I was entertained and did not regret seeing it.
I've got real mixed opinions on this next one. 2024's Metalstorm, The Destruction of Jared-Syn. And the word Metalstorm, I don't believe, appears anywhere in the movie at all.
We have 2024 here. That's not right at
No,
all.
that's
That's
not right.
1983. You just read it.
Wrong year.
It was 1983's Metal
That's
Star.
been posted on horrorguys.com all week. I probably should fix that.
Whoops.
Directed by Charles Band, written by Alan J. Adler, stars Jeffrey Byron, Michael Preston, and Tim Thomerson. Hour and 24 minutes. I don't recognize the other two, but Tim Thomerson shows up on a lot of these New Moon kind of movies. He was in the Killer Toys and all kinds of other stuff.
Recognizable faces here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, trailer in the show notes. Spoiler free.
This was apocalyptic futuristic science fiction, of course directed by Charles Band, and part of the Full Moon Company. And so it does have the horror movie connection. This is a very 80s blast of action and romance. Kept reminding us of Mad Max the Road Warrior.
Which
a
I
little bit.
suspect is no coincidence.
Yeah, cashing in on that. Very clearly made also with 3D in mind as a gimmick. The effects haven't held up super well, but it was at least passably entertaining.
As far as post-apocalyptic movies with a low budget, I'd say this is better than Parasite. You don't think so?
I don't know. It didn't appeal to me.
The story's
quite as
more
much.
interesting, I thought.
See, I thought the Parasite story was interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the man drives his futuristic vehicle through the desert. Did you notice that the truck kind of looked like a skull? It was kind of a cool truck.
Yeah, it was.
After a while, he's spotted by a mutant on a hill, and soon after, a flying craft shoots lasers at him. The man in the truck shoots back, causing the flying machine to crash explosively. And the flying special effects are just god-awful.
Yeah, they're pretty bad, yeah.
Dogen then parks the truck and checks out the damage. He looks at the dead man's body and finds a red crystal. We cut to a couple of crystal miners who complain about being in nomad territory. They find a big one. We're rich! When they go outside, Diana's father is executed by the cyborg Bale. Of course, Diana, Dhyana. So that's the futuristic spelling, which
the
is way harder than the modern spelling.
Futuristic spelling. And Bale is Baal.
Yeah. Elsewhere, Dogen sees smoke and heads toward the action. He soon arrives at the mine site and finds Diana hiding in the cave. He tells her about Jared-Syn, a madman who's been inciting the nomads in a holy war. Bale is Jared-Syn's son. Jared-Syn, elsewhere, tells his followers that he knows someone has come to challenge them. And he's like a cult leader with a really bad haircut.
But he's got a big crystal power thing.
He does,
so
yes.
he rules with an iron fist, but he's got some power to back it up.
Yeah. Dogen asks Diana about the red crystal he found, so she takes him to her equipment supplier for answers. The little man, Zax, does some tests and says it's a storage crystal for life force. It may have come from a lost city, but the only man who can take Dogen there is a former ranger named Rhodes.
Sounds like a quest.
Sounds like a quest for a MacGuffin, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Bale chases Dogen and Diana, and he shoots hallucinogenic acid at them before getting run off. In a fever dream, Dogen dreams about Jared-Syn, who can't hurt him as long as Diana is with him. Jared-Syn concentrates real hard, and Diana teleports to where he is. He then teleports a monster to fight Dogen. You know, if he kept doing this movie would have been a lot shorter.
It would have, yeah.
Dogen is smart, and he manages to short-circuit the electrical monster. Well, Dogen then goes to a small encampment and goes into an entirely alien-free version of the Star Wars bar.
That sure was reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He tracks down the X-Ranger Rhodes there. Oh, look, it's Han Solo in the bar.
Uh-huh. Another recognizable face.
You must have fought in the Sand Wars, Rhodes says. Rhodes isn't cooperative, but Dogen goes outside to watch a guy get beaten up. This somehow leads to a gunfight, which somehow also leads to Rhodes sobering up and becoming an ally. And we'll stop there. We got MacGuffins, we got a team building up here, things are happening.
We got a cult and crystals and, futuristic vehicles.
Yeah, this is like somebody
flying cars.
Yeah. Very ambitious.
All sorts of cool
This
stuff.
is like somebody wanted to see Mad Max and you got told, we have Mad Max at home.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know it's post-apocalyptic because everyone is sweaty and no one washes their faces. In the end, Jared-Syn gets away, and there was no sequel, so that didn't work out so well. Boy, I hope he went to his wig maker and got a new one. That hair just bothered me every time he was on screen.
It was something.
This was obviously cashing in on Mad Max the Road Warrior from 1982, just the previous year, which was a big hit at the time. There's also lots of nods to Star Wars. And it's post-apocalyptic, with lots of car chases, mutants, and hokey special effects. It also was filmed in 3D, although there aren't an excessive numbers of gimmick shots in this. I thought Parasite was much more obviously a 3D kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of POV driving and flying shots, which maybe looked good in 3D. They kind of were a little distracting in 2D. Why are we watching this?
They didn't look so good, yeah.
The makeup effects, especially on Bale and Hurok, are pretty decent. They actually both look pretty good characters.
Mm-hmm.
The other special effects are extremely dated, especially the flying stuff. And Hurok was played by Richard Mall, who somebody saw this and then decided to cast him in Night Court, which he spent on 8 or 9 years on that show.
So it was a good career move.
It was a good move for him, yeah.
Yeah.
He'd played lots of tall guy monsters and bad guys and mutants and wizards and all kinds of bad stuff.
And continued to that, too. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's more action-adventure sci-fi than horror. Still, it's got mutants and monsters and mayhem, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you like your Star Wars Mad Max ripoffs, this is a good one. It's decent enough.
They had a generous glycerin budget.
Boy, everybody was so sweaty.
Especially Dogen.
Yeah.
Yeah, the main guy. The main hero. Yeah. The other makeup effects, like you said, were decent. But, I thought it was moderately entertaining.
Yeah. If we're not going to go with Crash, this would be my next favorite.
Okay. I'd go with number 2 on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's next?
Meridian, 1990.
I don't like that name. What else can we call it?
We could call it Meridian Kiss of the Beast. Or
one more.
How about The Ravaging?
My goodness, they were all over with the titles on this one, weren't they?
Yeah. This was written and directed by Charles Band, also written by Dennis Paoli. Stars Cheryl Finn, Malcolm Jameson, and Charles Spredling. Runtime's an hour and 25 minutes. There's a trailer in the show notes.
There is.
Yeah. And a very Beauty and the Beast looking kind of poster.
That werewolf monster beast thing in the picture looks familiar. Have we seen that before?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, they reworked it from another movie.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Spoiler free. It was too long and drawn out.
And yet it was only an hour and 25 minutes.
It just seemed
How
long.
could it be too long? But yet it did seem that way. Yeah.
There's a story, a decent cast, and some cool real-world settings in Italy.
Oh, yeah, that garden, that sculpture garden is awesome. And that's a real place.
You were impressed with the sets. You mentioned a couple times here.
Yeah.
But it does drag. It's got horror elements and a romantic plot. Overall, the effect is pretty sedating. We give it a moderate thumbs up at best.
Yeah.
I would guess of all these 5 movies, this may have been the best produced. I mean, it looks fine. It's not cheap looking.
Mm-hmm.
It's just dull. It's not a good story.
Yeah, yeah.
What happens?
Well, we open with a bunch of circus performers coming out of a glowing cave that looks like a mouth. It's pretty awesome.
Looks like one of those robot gods from the old Star Trek movie.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You know, the lion. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we then cut to a church where a boy brings in a painting that the woman in the castle has donated. Yeah, the frame is old and valuable, but the worthless painting And then another guy looks at it and says, "That's not worthless. There's another painting hiding underneath it. So we better restore that and see what's underneath." Well, then we pan down to the crypt beneath the church, which is full of old skulls, as all crypts should be.
So we're figuring at this point it's got some kind of evil church with an evil priest. And no, none of that.
No, they don't go there. Well, the priest takes the painting to Gina to restore the original layer. Gina gets to work on the painting, but she has to meet her best friend Kat, who is visiting Italy for the first time in 10 years. Kat's family owns an old castle on the mountain. Old Aunt Martha has been living there all this time. Kat explains that legend says the man who built the castle in the 1500s was a wizard who turned all his enemies to stone, which explains all the weird statuary on the property. Well, the two girls notice the creepy circus setting up just outside, and they attend. The ringleader, Fauvery, introduces his sideshow. There's a dwarf and a strong man, a snake charmer, fire eater, and some others.
All the usual shenanigans.
Sideshow type, yeah. Well, when it comes time to pick a volunteer from the audience for the knife thrower, they pick Gina. And Fauvery throws knives at her on stage, which is all tense, but it's all fine. And all through the show, some of the people on stage stare ominously at Kat out in the crowd, like they've singled her out for some reason. After the show, Kat and Gina go backstage to talk to Fauvery, who is really charming and seems to like the girls as well. Kat is pressured into inviting the whole troupe up to the castle for dinner that night.
Wait, tonight? They did happen to have the food for 20 circus guys?
Yeah, 20 people. Yeah. Martha and Andrea aren't thrilled to cook for the big crowd, but they don't have much choice.
Yeah, this is probably the most unbelievable part of the movie.
Yeah.
Dinner's only like 3 hours. Why don't you come up? I'll come up. Me, I just arrived in town with my aunt, and we got enough food for 2 people, but we'll make it work for 30 of you. Come on up.
Yeah.
We'll entertain you, too.
Yeah, suddenly. Yeah. Well, they all toast their host, but we see that the dwarf has drugged the girls' drinks. The girls almost immediately get woozy, and Fauvery rapes both of them.
Well, that escalated quickly.
It certainly does, as does a mysterious man in a mask who looks just like him.
Oh, there's 2 of him.
Yeah. "I need you to love me," says the man who drugged and raped her.
That's the way to get there, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, the 2 twins then continue to have sex with both girls, and somewhere in the middle of sex, Laurence Fauvery turns into a werewolf to finish the act.
Oh, my.
Yeah. Well, in the morning, Kat and Martha talk about the mess the guests made last night. But Martha's pretty cool with it. It's like, Kat's, the lady of the house, whatever you want. We're cool with it. The circus and everyone with it are gone. Neither of the girls remember all the details, but they both suspect that they were drugged. "We can't go to the police," Kat says.
Why not? Why not?
And we were saying that to the screen. Like, why not?
I'm sure the police would look for every opportunity to go and arrest the circus people. That's the way the circus people are.
Yeah. And that's the extent of how upset they are about this.
We were probably drugged and raped last night, but we can't tell anybody.
I got to go to work and, see, I have a good day. And that's it.
It was Italy in the 90s. What do you expect?
Yeah, Gina leaves with a shrug and goes back to work on the mysterious painting. And, we're all good. And, yeah. Well, alone now, Kat wanders through the huge castle. She goes into a bedroom, finds a dead woman on a bed. Well, that's not right, so she screams and runs to get Martha, who says there's no one there. And when they return, sure enough, there is no one there. She saw the dead girl when she was very young, which is why her father sent her to America at a young age.
So is she seeing ghosts or what's up? We don't know yet.
Not quite yet, yeah. Well, later, Kat finds Oliver Fauvery outside, and he apologizes for last night. "When we first made love, what we had was real," he explains. So now she's sure of what happened, but she's, fine with it.
If they loved each other so much, why did they need to drug them?
Yeah.
It's Cosby kind of love.
Yeah. Well, he leaves and talks to his evil brother Lawrence about Kat being the one. Well, we should stop there, probably.
Yes.
Yeah. So Gina continues this artwork is important because it has clues about past events and who these twins really are and what the circus is about and what's going on with Aunt Martha and the castle. And, there's some things that are revealed.
This painting
isn't an interesting script, kind of, but they really dragged it out for somehow. So I don't. Maybe a short film.
Well, I think the sex scene took like 45 minutes, didn't it?
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, the werewolf/beast is the gentle good guy, and the normal-looking guy is the baddie. All right, we can do that.
Yeah, we can go with that.
I want to say it was a take on Beauty and the Beast, but it had enough differences to make it stand out. Mm-hmm. There was some of that there, but not a lot.
Yeah.
The sex scenes are incredibly long and drawn out, and seem to be a focus of the film. Well, the director certainly seemed to like them. We did linger on that for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Sherilyn Fenn was right in the middle of filming Twin Peaks at the time, and she was a hot commodity, so that was probably behind it. I don't think she ever released a sex tape, but this is probably as close as it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the cast members of Twin Peaks, her career seemed to stall out fairly quickly, so she does all right here. Can you think of any other movies she was in?
I cannot, no.
She wasn't bad enough in this to ruin her career.
I'm sure she was in other stuff. I don't know
Nothing
what.
I ever saw.
Yeah.
Probably something.
Yeah.
Well, the castle itself and the statuary gardens are real places in Italy. You can even book weddings there. Kevin looked it up.
I did.
He went, is this real?
Yeah, it is.
The werewolf costume is the same one from Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1990, with just a few modifications. And nobody ever actually says it's a werewolf. It's just some kind of, the beast. But the visuals are good. The soundtrack is well done. The problem is the story, which is slow and drawn out. We both thought it was pretty dull.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're looking something up?
Yeah, I was looking up Sherilyn Fenn's stuff. She's got 126 acting credits.
But are there anything, decent?
Major? I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't seen these other things. Yeah, but tons of stuff. Yeah, she's been steady working since then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most of the other stars of Twin Peaks, though, you know what they've done.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so as I said, we've got 2025 is Charles Band's newest movie, City of Demons, directed by Charles Band, written by Leon Schmuley, stars Ariana Madix, Jessica Morris, and Circus Zaleski. I want my name to be Circus Zaleski.
Circus Zaleski.
Hour and 22 minutes, and trailer. Oh my goodness!
There's no trailer yet.
This movie is so new and so bad. They didn't even bother putting out a trailer.
They sent it to you, didn't they?
They did not.
We had a trailer. Didn't we see a trailer?
No.
I thought they sent us a trailer.
We looked at the list and we ended up paying for this on, I think, Amazon Prime.
Okay, I'm thinking of something else.
That's my biggest regret of the month is paying $2.99 to watch this thing. It's something.
Can I say spoiler free?
This is not to be confused with 2018's Constantine, City of Demons.
No.
That we review. We've got the review of that one on the site somewhere. But if you just look for City of Demons, you're probably going to come up with that one. So I imagine they named this so they can get the mistaken buyers.
Maybe.
Not the movie you were looking for, but here's this one. You can watch it instead.
Yeah.
Spoiler free.
Well, this wasn't horror so much as it was a loose collection of scenes. That's a delivery system for hot-clothed girls and hot unclothed girls and girl-on-girl sex and man-on-girl sex. And there's girl sex with a giant Elvis puppet.
Okay.
And that was at least interesting.
It was different.
Yeah, that was unique. Yeah, in a weird way. But there are ghosts and vampires and some other stuff going on in a really choppy mix that we pretty firmly give a thumbs down. Although
Yes.
after thinking about that Elvis scene, I don't know. That's almost worthy of a thumbs up by itself.
No.
It's like a stage show at a strip club.
The way you worded this wasn't horror so much. Yeah, it was horror. It had
Okay.
monsters and vampires and stuff. It's a horror movie. It's just
all
awful.
right. Yeah.
And I am quite confident in saying this is the worst movie of not only the week, but of the month.
Oh, my.
It's a strong contender for worst of the year. I mean, it's only March, but
It's early.
this one left an impression. This was bad.
But Elvis.
Bad.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Danny and Reese, both realtors, talk about selling an old house that's been empty for 80 years. And this house looks like it's maybe 10 years old.
It's gorgeous.
Very
and
new-looking house.
It doesn't have 80 years of dilapidation on it. No.
They go inside and start pulling sheets off the furniture, and the pair get to work cleaning before the buyer arrives. And we get a cleaning montage. We cut to the casting room, where actresses talk about wanting to be in this movie so badly that they're working on, but one of them insults the work. This is a stupid place, a stupid film, and a stupid director, and the director standing right there.
Yeah.
The two others don't fare much better with the awful script, but the perky, vacuous one gets cast. As that's the way it works.
Sometimes.
They go home, put on monster masks, and dance in front of a crystal ball, and we see that someone is watching them. They have a lot of really cool horror movie masks and props. They're decorating for Halloween.
They must
Actually,
have
I suspect they raided the Full Moon.
The Full Moon
props.
warehouse.
Yep.
Yeah, the collection of stuff they have is really awesome.
Yeah,
that's another good point of the movie. See, it's not all awful.
The first 20 minutes isn't bad, but then it goes way downhill.
Yeah.
Back at the old house, Reese watches as ghosts frolic outside near the waterfall. More ghosts, including the ghosts of Sonny Barnes, Tubby Fitzgerald, and Eric Burke, talk to her. She hears screaming in the basement and goes through a secret door to get down there. The four horror girls decide to watch The Killer Eye on DVD.
Which is a full moon.
That is an actual full moon thing, but I think all the rest of these references to that aren't the same.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
They even have a killer eye prop, which is kind of cool. One of the girls takes her top off and flashes the eye. In the movie, a woman in a clown makeup gets her fortune told by a woman at the beach who takes her to a dispensary on her break. We get a glimpse of the Ginger Dead Man, as well as the Evil Bong, which are two other full moon movies.
There's lots of references to people and previous movies, and
yes.
Probably some of them went over our head because
we haven't
watched
seen lots of
all
them.
that stuff.
Yeah.
We recognized a lot.
They all watch a show featuring a zombie puppet Elvis having sex with a stripper. And this is, according to Kevin, the high point of the movie.
Yep, it sure was.
Well, Reese rushes into a room where she sees the Phantom of the Opera having sex with a woman. Nope, it's Eric, Sonny, and Tubby. Reese says the potential buyer of the house will find her, and they laugh. Eric was posing as the buyer.
Yeah, these are three wicked ghosts that are old-time movie stars.
Yes.
Yeah. I think one of them is supposed to be Fatty Arbuckle. I think one of them is patterned after him.
I think you're right.
I'm not sure about the other two.
I think the other one's probably Errol Flynn or somebody, and the other one, I believe, is probably Bela Lugosi.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't really do the accents and stuff, but that's the kind of characters
patterned after them, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this sucks, says one of the horror girls, as did Kevin, at the weird Elvis puppet sex. The crystal ball is still watching them all, and when it starts glowing, they all notice.
But it sucked in a good way, the weird Elvis puppet sex.
You're making this thing sound better than it is.
Yes, I am. Don't be fooled. It's really not.
There's like a 3-minute segment of this movie that's probably funny to watch.
I'm not going to go as far as to recommend that y'all go see it. But if you like,
And actually, what I've just read seems to make a lot of sense. I mean, it sounds like
does.
there's a plot going on here. But there's so many cuts back and forth with these stories and other stories and people that we don't know yet and people shopping in a store.
It's really
and people
choppy.
going to a strip club. And there's all kinds of crap going on, and we don't know why. It kind of ties together at the end.
Kinda.
But only kinda.
Yeah, and pretty soon we get the vampires showing up.
Okay, well, WTF was that? Someone cleaned scraps off the cutting room floor and stitched them together or something like that. There was never anything resembling a coherent plot going on here. It's like scenes from 9 different movies, edited together inconsistently, with triple the usual amount of TNA thrown in. There were too many blonde women who all looked alike. We couldn't tell who was who for the most part. You got the 4 movie girls, you got the 2 realtors, some dead movie stars, some of the vampires. They all kind of look alike.
It was,
Yeah,
a mishmash.
it was really, really hard to follow. We repeatedly cut away to scenes that don't really go anywhere or fold in with any of the other plots. Just way too much cutting back and forth between things that don't seem to be related. Now, we did realize early on that this was obviously chock full of cameos.
Mm-hmm.
But the credits, like I said, there's not even a trailer for this. The credits don't say much of anything, even on IMDb. We don't know who these people were. Evil Bong and Gingerbread Man, them we knew. They were just kind of over-the-top little appearances. Stuart Gordon, the director of Reanimator, was one I did spot because they actually named him. But I know that there were a few that I should have recognized and didn't. There's an old man that's sitting in the audience that looks like he's got no teeth.
And they showed him deliberately.
They showed him a couple of times.
There were people that they deliberately showed.
Yeah, they were clearly these were somebody.
Like, I'm supposed to recognize who this is, and I yeah.
Yeah. Well, Full Moon clearly went crazy with the self-references to their own films and props. Not having seen that much of their stuff since the 80s and 90s, I was a little overwhelmed. I mean, they put out hundreds of movies, and we've only seen mostly of the good ones.
Small percentage, yeah.
It was truly unequivocally incoherent trash, and not in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, stuff happens to a bunch of attractive young women who are pretty interchangeable in appearance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
if you want to see a bunch of bouncing boobies running around in a movie, I mean, this is okay, but go out and buy a porn movie if you want that. This is just crap.
Yeah. I mean, Charles Band has some good stuff under his belt.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like something went terribly wrong with this one.
Leftover stuff from other movies, or, he had a weekend to waste. I don't know what happened here.
Let's just mash this together.
But just the lack of a trailer, the lack of any detail on IMDb tells me they didn't put any effort in this at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, crank this thing out, and maybe we'll get some idiots to buy it on Amazon Prime.
So,
well, that was us.
My recommendation, check out Parasite or Crash if you're in a Charles Band kind of mood.
Destruction of Jared-Syn wasn't terrible.
Oh, and Jared-Syn, yeah.
Meridian, we thought was boring, but it was not poorly made. It was just kind of dull. If you're a big Beauty and the Beast fan, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Metalstorm, I mean, Mad Max and Star Wars. Crash is just funny goofiness, and Parasite they're okay.
Mm-hmm.
That City of Demons just don't. Don't.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, see the other four. Yeah. And that's our show for the week, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You forgot to watch any shorts.
We didn't forget. We just didn't get to it.
We didn't get around to it.
But next week we're going to watch a couple of cartoons, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I thought you didn't like cartoons.
Oh, but when they're live-action cartoons.
You refuse to let me watch real cartoons. You want to watch those live-action cartoons.
Did you know that The Little Mermaid is available?
So is Popeye.
And so is Popeye.
Hint.
So if somebody was to make these into horror movies, we could watch those.
Yeah.
And guess what? We already saw The Little Mermaid.
We've already done Pooh Blood, both the Pooh movies. We've done the Mickey Mouse movie, although I believe there may be another Mickey Mouse movie out there.
After we wrap this up, we're going to go watch Popeye. Spoiler.
He is what he is.
He is what he is. I am what I am. That's all that I am.
Do we have to eat spinach?
Oh, I already had some spinach for lunch, so no, I'm all set.
Okay.
You haven't had your spinach for today.
I'd rather eat seaweed for The Little Mermaid.
Okay.
All right, well, that's our show for this week. I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And you can read all the reviews next week at horrorguys.com or horrorweekly.com. See you next week.
See ya.